I've been talking really basically about some ancient books, traditions. For example, Isis Unveiled and Secret Doctrine and Lost Star, Myth and Time, and many other ancient traditions that talk about our star has a companion. And actually, according to Hindu astronomy, not only do we have one companion, but in the big scheme of things, there are some other things that happen in our solar system as we go around the galaxy. We go around the galaxy almost like this flower pattern. I'll explain to that. I talked a little bit about our system as a dual system here. Okay, now it turns out that that particular form or wave, that spherical or gyration motion, is extremely prevalent in the universe. That's why we have these symbols, such as the infinity symbol. And literally this is here, there's for example certain patterns in atomic particle behavior that have shapes like this because of the way it all has to do with spin and magnetics and so on. And the manipulation of this magnetic energy is the source of all true science. And first, to really have the science, you have to understand really how it works. And they had an old saying that's still true today, as above, so below. So if we learn the simplest of the simple, what's inside us, what's close to us, and observe, and we go and train our mind, there's a sacred geometry, a spherical geometry that allows this whole incredible system to work, where we have water, we have fire energy, we have electricity, we have light, we have all that stuff going on. There's a fantastic system. And that's what they were writing about long time ago because of their observations. And we don't even know how long it goes, but they talk about what I call the esoteric astronomy, the esoteric cosmo-astrophysics. And what happens if you have a big system like this, which is rotating through space? Now this is going this way, and this is going through this way, in a really big scheme of things. These are not just objects out there. These are incredibly powerful, amazing sources of incredible energy, just so unfathomable. We look at the stars, we go, well, there's the star, but we don't really quite grasp the significance because, you know, there's a saying in esoteric physics that light is life, light is consciousness, and if people, we go about our day and we forget, look, you know, if it wasn't for that sun up there and the other kinds of light that we need, we literally would not have anything to say. We would not exist, we would not have anything, no brain, nothing. So light for us is literally life. And when that light goes out into, depending on, we know that light, color waves matter, the frequencies matter, the proportions of the waves matter, the time element matters, all of that matters. The various pulsing motions of these fantastic beams. Like Sirius, for example, is some phenomenal size. I think it's about 3 or 4 times physically bigger, or 10 times bigger, and 30 times more gravity or something. It's just absolutely enormous. And we get pulled to this in a very powerful way. So there is a cosmic initiation. In some way, our sun is like the sun of this one, you might say. And they say, well, like when it says the sun, the God, our God is going to its Father. Well, then, if the sun gets closer and closer to its companion or mother star or father star, then something happens, something physical happens, something with light happens, something with cosmic energy, magnetism, sparks fly, however the system works. And the ancients said that there are 7 so-called planes. And what they're talking about basically is you take a vibration, you divide it up, and you divide it up. Ultimately, everything devolves into one. Everything rests at that one. So that's why this ancient symbol, the circle, and the circle with a point in the middle. Ultimately, everything resolves to one, and we have a hydrogen atom, which is basically one. Now, at the base of everything, there's something. Now, there's also other kinds of energy that we can't necessarily touch. It has a certain kind of particle nature that has many different levels according to the frequency. And in order for our dense frequency to work, it has to have all the support mechanism. We know that because if we didn't have the support systems of all the things that gravity and the things that make us tick and everything, we wouldn't just have anything to talk about. So it's all about cosmic physics, and all of this motion and this spinning and this light frequencies and all this soup that we're in allows us to live. And when we actually have physically more light, and that light might be of a frequency, for example, if the frequency of the sun starts to get disturbed because it's been wandering and it's been going through in its path for a long, long time away from its companion star, and then maybe that sun in some senses is stressed out, so to speak, because it's been the cosmic wanderer, is coming out of the deep space, and now it's heading back toward getting a charge. It gets initiated, it gets renewed. And this is a tremendous cycle because everything goes on a spiral. Because, for example, if nothing ever gets renewed, then it can't grow. It can't. How do we get healed? Because something is going on in a progressive spiral motion to sustain and make that all happen. And it takes the light, it takes the elements, and so on. So try to describe, okay, in this part of the cycle, this is the type of energy that comes in. This is the type of thing that responds. And if this energy gets combined with this energy, then that kind of thing will happen. It's because it's a way of how everything is woven into the fabric of this life. And the ancients said that there were a number of other constellations that are very, very important for us, and I'm going to go into some of them, but the Pleiades and the Great Bear, and there are beings. This is the idea. Life is light. And there are beings and beingness and awareness of a particular kind on Sirius that happens to be extremely beneficial for our system. We need that. This is like the mother's milk. That's why the ancient Egypt really, their story, their walls are covered with not the religion. It was religion, but it was their science of astronomy of how things work, and they told a very, very particular but bizarre story to explain how all the beings work in this system and how energy becomes being and so on. So I have to go, there's a story in a great myth called the Great Hero, and the Great Hero is symbolic of a sun or a universe or an individual, and there's a journey of creation, a journey of consciousness and so on that goes on. And it's all cyclical. It has to do with cyclic motion and the movement of energy, and the way we have consciousness, the way everything works, the reason we can have brains and memories and dreams and psychic experiences and all kinds of phenomena and science and all that stuff. There's some mechanism that makes it all work. God has a mechanism, and it has to do with the stars, with the cosmic energy, because that's what's out there. You know, that's where we're in. We're in the soup of this cosmic energy. And what I'm getting here is that in the very near future, all the talk about Nibiru and all the talk about the comet, I really believe that we're getting very, very close to the threshold. An initiation is in alignment, in a magnetic alignment. Our Earth turns back in retrograde motion with precession, and the sun is going around, and at some point, it's expressed in esoteric literature as an initiation. It's an alignment. It's an increase of light. It's a flow of energy. It's a cosmic exchange of beams that function. There's a function here, and the sun and Sirius get just close enough, and then they start to speed up and speed up and speed up and speed up. And I believe the Mayan calendar and all the ancient old calendars like the Hindus, we're talking about incredible cosmology, just incredible stuff. That actually, in fact, not only does our sun go on a very big roundabout here, then we have Sirius has a sun, another star that goes around it, white dwarf star that's collapsed, but an incredibly powerful star, and that goes around that about 50 years, every 50 years. And so what we have here is systems after systems of interplaying systems that do this chakra motion. This is the cosmos. This is the spiral, eternal motion. Spirals make energy. They're generators. The planets are generators. The suns are generators of intense cosmic rays and beams.
They in turn catalog celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized or personified as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God, God's Son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains.
I'm Jeff Jower with a special Planet Pulse focus on the sign Aquarius.
And I'm Rick Levine. Aquarius is arguably the weirdest sign of the zodiac because it's the water bearer, yet it's not a water sign, it's an air sign. It's a sign that is not an animal like most of the rest of the zodiac. It's a human, and yet there's somewhat of a technological inhumanness about it. It's a weird sign.
Yes, and in traditional astrology, it was associated with Saturn, a planet of seriousness and order, and in modern astrology, it's associated with Uranus, a planet of revolution. The other thing is that Aquarius, it's the 11th sign of the zodiac, and as we get further along in the zodiac, we become more conceptual. As an air or mental sign, Aquarius is highly conceptual and highly idealistic. One of the aspects of idealism of Aquarius is that of community. Another paradox is that Aquarius believes in cooperation and community and friendship, but requires freedom and independence for itself.
Yeah, it really is a sign that is full of paradoxes. Even the fact that Aquarius really doesn't like the messiness of the human emotions and the feelings, and yet, as you said, there's perhaps more than any other sign, Aquarius identifies with being a human, not being an individual person, but that concept of humanity, that concept of global consciousness, the idea of it takes a village, or of the idea of the global village. These are Aquarian concepts, the concepts of peace and brotherhood and love, not as an I love you, but as a love. And these are all Aquarian ideas because they're concepts, they're not messed up by personal emotion.
That's great. And I think that also represents a desirable picture for the future. I'm sort of a believer in Aquarius. I have no planets in Aquarius. It took me 20 years as an astrologer to grok it. But nevertheless, it represents a potential future for humanity which breaks down the boundaries of gender and nationality and race and age. And we begin to relate to one another on a global level, as you said, Rick. But because of that, Aquarius or futurism can feel threatening to the conservative forces which identify so strongly with family, tribe, and national boundaries and limits.
There's another aspect of Aquarius that ties into this idea of futurism, but it's less about the tense of being in the future, like future tense, but it's more about the technological side of it. It's not only the sign of technology, but it's also not about the message, it's about the technology that's used to deliver the message, meaning that in the body, it's the nervous system itself. It's the distribution of the thoughts and the ideas, not the ideas themselves. In some ways, it is the medium and not the message.
Absolutely. And the messenger, in some ways, on a human level, can be a lot of signs, but the opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo, which is the heart, the me. Notice me, I'm important. Understanding Aquarius is really like a multiplicity of Leos. It's like an all-star game. Instead of living in a solar system with only one sun at the center in a Leo star, single star-based world, Aquarius is constellational. It's a representation or an understanding of collective human innovation or genius in which each star plays its own unique role. I'm Jeff Jower.
And for Planet Pulse, I'm Rick Levine.
Here we are, this time and this place. Time and place, time and place, time and place. So here you are, in this time and place. Welcome. Consciousness always has a location. A calendar is an agreement of a society or a civilization. It is the pinpoint center of any civilization. The absolute dead center of our civilization is called the Gregorian calendar. Nobody even questions it. The Gregorian calendar was the physical measurement of Earth around the sun. The measurement of physical objects moving through space. The absolute dead center of our civilization is focused on only physical evidence. It's the calendar on which all things are bought and sold. Our calendar has directed our consciousness only in that direction, to change or alter your viewpoint, to dominate people's consciousness. It's been that way throughout your whole life. So, here we are, time and place. This time and this place. The Maya had two calendars at the very center of their civilization. The Zolkin calendar was 260 days long. This was celebrated every day by every person. Then we have the Tun calendar, 360 days long. And this calendar is known as the Divine calendar. Every 52 revolutions of this calendar, these two teeth match back up. Every 52 tune, all debts were absolved, and they started all over. Our calendar only has to do with our speck of mud going around this little speck of light we call the sun. A sea of 100 billion stars in this one galaxy out of 100 billion galaxies in the universe. So how big is our calendar? These guys were looking at something a lot bigger. They certainly weren't timing any physical cycles of things in our solar system. What were they timing? The Mayan calendar is in 9 different levels. That's why all those pyramids down there are all 9 levels. That each one of these levels is subdivided into 13 individual sections. There are 7 periods of light, and there's 6 periods of dark. 7 days and 6 nights to each level of creation. Each day is a period of increase in consciousness. and each night is a period of applying that consciousness. This very first cycle started 16.4 billion years ago. It's called the cellular cycle. 16.4 billion years is divided into 13 different sections. Each one of them 1.26 billion years long. A day was 1.25 billion years. And each night lasted for 1.25 billion years. Each one of these has a particular intention in creation. Action, reaction was this whole cycle. The very next cycle started 820 million years ago. And it started going through these same 13 steps. This one was 1.26 billion years each. This one's only 63.4 million years each. This whole cycle fits in that box very comfortably. It's not a coincidence. We're on a schedule. We are on a schedule. The mind. Here, we put down the tail and pick up the mind as a survival tool. The cultural cycle. 8,000 years ago, we developed agriculture. Law. Ooh, the Industrial Revolution. Power. It is now global consciousness.
The story begins with a controversial researcher named Terence McKenna.
Terence McKenna was kind of the subcultural Timothy Leary of the 1980s and 90s. He did these kind of mathematical graphings with the I Ching and turned it into a kind of map of time.
Before his death in 2000, McKenna noticed an unrecognized pattern in the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. The 6 lines and 64 possible combinations can be expressed as a ratio of change in each hexagram and plotted on a graph. When McKenna mapped that graph over a timeline, he found intriguing correlations that matched all 4,000 years of recorded history. His graph starts with the I Ching's creation in China's Shang dynasty, the same period as the dawn of civilization in other parts of the world. The 64 hexagrams repeat 64 times over history. McKenna called his theory time wave zero. The highs and lows of his I Ching graph seem to have accurately predicted the fall of the Roman Empire, the discovery of the New World, and the world wars of the 20th century. But the strangest thing of all was that McKenna's timeline came to an end on one specific date. December 21st, 2012.
It was later that McKenna discovered that the Mayan civilization ended its calendar at the point of 2012. He felt there was something truly prophetic about that date.